Hi everyone, happy Friday. Welcome back to another weekly budget with me video. We're budgeting out our paycheck for June 17th, 2022. We get paid every single Friday, so we like to budget out every single paycheck. So I consider this my weekly budget or my paycheck to paycheck budget or budgeting by paycheck. We also follow a zero-based budget, and we are more recently trying to align our categories and our percents within those categories with the 60% solution. So if you're interested in seeing how we handle our finances, maybe you can get a few tips, or if you want to hear some of the viewer comments, then stay tuned. Let's jump on the Excel sheet. So if you guys missed it last week, I went over the monthly plan for June, and we had already budgeted out the 3rd and the 10th. So like I mentioned, we're going to be doing the 17th. So my husband works in construction, so currently their hours, or their schedule if you will, is Monday through Friday, 10-hour shifts. So they usually have 10 hours of overtime, but they do get one Friday off every month. So basically there's 1 week without the overtime. And then for June, we did happen to have 1 week where it was no overtime because of the holiday pay for Memorial weekend. So his base pay is $30 an hour for the 40 hours a week. So on the 17th here, you'll see that it was the $1,200. When I'm going through my budget for the week, I like to color code things based on what's happening. So anytime I look at my template at a glance, I can see what's going on. So we're gonna make this black. My red meant that this is what I had projected out, and now black means that this is the actual amount that we got as far as the income. Now we are calculating our income before taxes because the percentages that are lining up with the 60% solution, you want to have those calculated for taxes. But your taxes and health insurance, those are actually going to be put into one of those categories, and we'll talk about that in a minute. Now, like I mentioned, my husband gets one Friday off a week, so he had last Friday off. So the 17th is basically what he worked last week, and then we get paid for this week. So you can see there's no overtime for this particular paycheck. Now, I really encourage you guys to do not only a monthly budget, but also do your paycheck budget, because obviously you can see some things can change, especially if you have a position where you have overtime, or maybe you work self-employment wise and you have different income. It's a more valuable, or even if you're in sales, you might have an irregular income. So for next week, we're keeping it, he should have his overtime and his regular pay. So his overtime is time and a half, so it's $45 an hour. So next week would be the $450, and then I should be bringing over about $186.87 from my self-employment, basically my part of my YouTube income, and that is going directly towards an extra principal payment on our teardrop. We also get our interest in our bank account on the 26th, so I just line it up the closest date that I can for that particular paycheck. So for this week, we have $1,200 before taxes to work with, so we're going to work our way down the budget, and also we're going to be sharing some of the viewer comments as well. So our first category within our 60% solution is our retirement, saving up for your future, paying yourself first. The goal is 10%. For the month of June, we're basically going to be at 6%. So we have $50 going into my husband's 401k, or not 401k, into his Roth IRA, and we have $45 going into my Roth IRA. My husband's 401k doesn't start until later. Maybe in October is what I'm thinking, because he is with a new employer, and once that takes effect, we will be doing 5% automatically from his employer with that. So that kind of brings me to one of my first comments I want to talk about. So Jillian, she brings up a comment. She did bring in a comment about the investment, so I wanted to put that in right here. So I had asked you guys last week, do you budget just on your payday, or how are you working your budget? Because I had mentioned in the past that I budget anytime I spend money. So Jillian is exactly the same way. She says she budgets multiple times a week, generally whenever we have new transactions to enter. Same here. She said after receiving each paycheck, they budget out that money right away, basically doing a zero-based budget using the You Need a Budget. I believe it's an app, so if you guys want to check that out. I do like to use my Excel sheet. And then they also have additional contributions once a month to their investments besides what comes out automatically. So I'm assuming, and correct me if I'm wrong, Jillian, I'm assuming your automatic investments through your employer are probably like a 401k type thing, and then maybe a Roth IRA contribution you're doing additionally. I don't know. Let me know. I don't know if you're in the US or not. I know we have a lot of viewers out of the country. She says, I haven't looked at what our committed monthly expenses are, but she has calculated her needs, wants, and savings percentages. So I asked you guys too, what percent is your committed monthly expenses at? Our goal is 60%. We're a little higher than that. So basically, like Jillian says, we're kind of doing the same thing. My husband's for $50 a week is being put into savings, and then that comes out once a month for his Roth. So basically $200 on the 1st of July will come out, whereas my Roth IRA, because his is through Fidelity and mine is through Vanguard. So Vanguard, I can actually do it a weekly. So I actually do $45 a week being put into my Roth, and we're going to try to increase this next month if we can, and then next year we're going to be probably keeping our retirement at 7% because we're just trying to, you know, pay off some of this debt as well. So thank you, Jillian, for your comment. So the next section you would be shooting for 10% would be a long-term savings goal. So if you're saving up for an emergency fund, any type of maybe a longer purchase, a bigger purchase that's further down the line, a down payment for a house, a car replacement fund, things like that. And then if you have debt, you also want to try to pay off that debt. So this week we're not putting anything into those categories. You can see next week we're actually probably only going to be able to do 200 based on some of the spending that we did last week, and also based on I had miscalculated last week's overtime. So our next category, the biggest category of our budget, is the committed monthly expenses. So like I mentioned, we're trying to get it down to 60%. We're going to be at 72% for June. So that brings me to another comment we had, and that's Sarah. She says, I love what you do. Thank you for sharing. It keeps me so motivated. Thank you guys for watching, and thanks for commenting, because that keeps me motivated. She said, one of my most favorite things in life is trying to lower the 60% expenses as low as possible. She said, I found a super cheap phone plan for $20 a month per line, unlimited everything. If you look around, you will find excellent deals. And then she also mentions that Clark Howard has a really good podcast, so I'll have to take a look at that. Who is your phone plan through, if you don't mind me asking? Right now we're through Cricket, so ours is $30 a month per plan, unlimited everything, which still is not too bad. We're, you know, I think that's pretty good. But yeah, I'd love to hear what that is. So yeah, obviously the goal for us would also to be to get this not just to 60%, but even lower. And why do you want to do that? Well, I mentioned, you know, I did a video earlier this week or last week where I talked about, you know, why you want to live below your means, and that's so you can retire, you know, have a good retirement savings, so you can have those long-term savings for those bigger purchases, so you can also have fun and enjoy your money and not just be living paycheck to paycheck. So if you notice here, this is where your taxes and your health insurance deductions are going to come out of. They're going to be part of that 60% of your income. So for us, for this particular week, there was no federal. Arizona was $14.46, Medicare was $16.13, Social Security was $68.97, and then our life insurance $502, and our health insurance $87.66. Now health insurance also includes vision and dental, whereas with the old employer we spent about the same amount per paycheck, but we did not have vision and dental, so this is a little bit better of a plan. So again, I'm gonna make these black because these actually are out of my husband's paycheck. It's gone. We're not going to see that money in the bank. If you noticed, for the investments, I made it blue, so at a glance I know this money is invested or saved. It's not spent and gone. So that's just something I like to color code. For next week, I have the same numbers projected as the first paycheck because it should be the same income wise. So sometimes you'll see that the Social Security or Medicare may be slightly off by a penny, but we'll see if that changes next week. And then out of this paycheck, we want to finish out that getting that mortgage payment put aside. So we're gonna have that $30.60. Anytime I'm getting bill money ahead, so all of these bills, with the exception of Netflix, all of these bills are actually for July's bills, and so I'm kind of ahead by a few weeks. I'm not ahead a whole month, but I'm ahead a few weeks. But I like to put that in savings until the week it's due, and then I pull it out, and that's just so I can earn a little bit more interest within my bank account. So we'll have the full mortgage payment now in the bank. Groceries, we're doing 110. I still have $8 left. I already went grocery shopping. However, we do have some people coming over tomorrow. We have my dad and my best friend and her husband coming over tomorrow for a barbecue to celebrate Father's Day. So happy Father's Day to all those fathers out there. And also, it's my friend's husband, it's his birthday as well. So we're gonna be, there's possibility I'll be going back to the store to spend that $8. So we're gonna leave that. We make that orange because this tells me this is in the bank. And then now I got my official electric bill. So we budgeted $40 originally, but it was actually $32.54. So I'm gonna make this, this will be blue because this will be in the savings until the 1st. And then we'll have the Netflix out of this paycheck, which is $16.93. This is actually due on the 26th. This gets charged to my credit card, and then we pay it off once it finishes posting. So this is actually pretty much around pretty close to the 1st by the time we pay that anyways, but we're going to be putting that in savings until next week. And next week we'll have our solar, our water, sewer, trash, and then the cell phones. And that brings me to another comment that we had. Sarah also mentions that she gets paid every Friday, and she adjusted all of her major bills to be paid on the 1st of the month. And she did that because it actually helps her to feel like, okay, everything's paid, what's left, she's kind of a variable extra, discretionary spending. That's kind of similar, if you notice, that's kind of similar to what I have on my budget. So it's interesting to see that you have that as well. So like I mentioned, our mortgage is due on the 1st, our insurance is due on the 1st, our truck payment is on the 1st, our teardrop is on the 1st. So we did very similar to you as well, and that's how I kind of feel like we're a little bit ahead, because we got stuff out of this paycheck, or out of these first couple out of this month to cover everything on the 1st. But we do put that money aside, depending on how each paycheck flows. But yeah, thanks for sharing that. So the insurance payment, we'll have $198.05 out of this paycheck, and then we'll need $25.38 out of next week's paycheck to cover that. So I'm gonna make that blue because that also indicates that will be in savings. And then also I'm gonna mark on the side here, I like to make the actual amounts orange for those categories, because I know like these are parts of the budget that we're working on now as well. So gas, I mentioned this last week, obviously gas prices are going up, but we did go camping, driving my husband's truck. We drove about 3 miles north from where we live and then back down. So gas, we did end up spending an extra $50 on gas. So I went ahead and split that up between this week and next week. So I budgeted my regular 90, and then I did half of that 50. So we're gonna do 115 out of this paycheck and then 115 next paycheck. So this was charged on the credit card, so we'll be paying part of it off this week and then part of it off next week. And that brings me to our next comment, which is making me better. She said that half a tank of petrol cost her 44 pounds, which is basically the equivalent of $54.18 here in the US. Exactly that. I don't know if you're driving a truck or what do you drive, because Ricky has his truck and he usually likes to fill up at a half of a tank, and it's been about 50 something for him to fill up as well. So making me better, what kind of car do you drive? So we're doing this orange because this will be in the bank again until we use part of it and pay off. We still need to pay off the credit card for what we used out of last week's $90. And then this week we will have the full teardrop payment of $117.18. Again, this will go in savings until the week that it's coming out. We're not getting these too early, but that's because if you notice, out of every paycheck, I'm trying to do some savings or some investing out of every paycheck just to make it a little more consistent and a little more with what we have coming in. Next week we will have my laser, which will be $48.89, and then like I mentioned before, we did have a viewer donate $10 using a super thanks comment to my daughter, so you'll see that we'll get paid YouTube next week, so we'll see that they'll each get $5 next week. Fourth category within our 60% solution budgeting method is our short-term savings, or irregular bills, yearly bills, that type of thing. And this, again, the goal is 10%. We're going to be at about 9% for this month, and that's just because we wanted to go ahead and we got the tags for our teardrop trailer early. Starting next month, we're gonna divide up between July and the end of the year. I'm just dividing that between those 6 months. So we'll be putting about 128 aside every month for the rest of the year. And then that way, starting in January of next year, we'll just have the full amount ready for those tags, even though they're not due till June, July, and September. We'll have that money ahead, and then the following year we'll take that 700, divide it between 12 months, because that way we have 12 months to gather that money up, and we'll only need to put like 60 something aside. So it's just something I'm trying again to have a little bit more of a consistent cash flow. But so for out of this paycheck, I have 121.65. This is a balance that we actually already spent on the credit card earlier in the month, so we're going to pay that off this week. So we won't be spending anything additional within this category. We're just paying off that credit card. And then the last category would be your fun category. So you still need to be able to enjoy your money. That's why we work hard. You don't want to just be struggling and working just to pay your bills. So again, the goal is 10%. We were going to shoot for 8%. It looks like we're actually going to be closer to 9%, and that's just because of again, extra spending that we have done as well. So I mentioned this last week. We picked up the restaurant and we ate, and I said we spent about $90 or $95 at the steakhouse. So that brings me to our final comment here. Annie for Horses, she said $90 for Longhorn is about standard. When her and her roommate go to Texas Roadhouse, they usually spend about $100, and that's for the 4 adult meals and a kids meal for her dog. Yeah, so we have our 2 kids, so we did 2 kids meals and then the 2 adult meals, and then a dessert appetizer. I just usually when we try to go to these types of places, we're a little more cautious of what we're ordering. Like Ricky and I, a lot of times, when we go to Applebee's, we do the 2 for $20 or 2 for $25, whatever it is, and we'll go on a Wednesday where kids eat free. So we have done where we've tried to like really hone it in, but that time, we just splurged, and I think he ordered I think his dinner alone was probably $25, but that's okay. So this is another thing that we're paying off on the credit card. So we have $84.81. This will just be going directly as a credit card payment. We won't be spending that. Now for this weekend, like I mentioned, Father's Day weekend, so we are having some people over for a barbecue, and tonight is actually my friend Tammy's birthday. My friend Tammy's birthday was the other day, so we are going out to eat and then play some games at her house afterward. So this $75 basically will be a combination between spending for those events. So we'll kind of see next week. We'll have to see how much do we actually end up spending, and if I need to account for overspending. I don't know. We'll try our best not to. And then Ricky had his NOS. It was $11. I already ordered that. We went camping. If you guys saw, we did our little camping vlog. We ended up spending additional money. We had about $25 left at the time that we went camping, and then we got gas and stuff, so we needed to add about $6.71 to pay off what we used on the credit card. So that will come out of next week's paycheck. But if you notice, everything at the bottom has a 0, so we told everything where to go. And then on the side of my template here, I also just track what account at the bank is it in, whether it's at the bank or an investment account. So then when I log on the bank later today, everything, I already know that the direct deposit was in there and that it was for $1,007.76, but I know exactly where it's going. So whether it's going to go into savings for July 1st bills, or it's going to be going into this necessity checking account where stuff comes out automatically on automatic withdrawal setup. So like the $45 comes out automatically on Monday, and then the stuff that I have to use to pay off on the credit card, that will be put in that account because that's the account I make the credit card payment from. But yeah, so that's what the week is looking like. Yeah, so thank you guys so much for taking the time for commenting. As always, if you leave a comment on today's video, I'm going to be sharing it next week. I would still like to know if you guys have taken the time to calculate your percentages. Are you using a 60% solution, or maybe there's something else you've heard of, like a 50, 20, 30? Let me know down in the comments below. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon. Bye.